You're watching Byline Wilmington on CBS 10 WILM. Here's your host, Don Ansell.
We're back. Susan Eaton is the, well, I won't say new, because you've been here since November, but pretty new convention center manager for the Wilmington facility that's getting ready to open in January. First of all, how large a space is it?
The total footprint of the building, to include front and back of house, is little over 95,000 square feet of exhibition space, meeting space, banquet space,
And it can be
such.
segmented into different formations depending on what you need?
Yes, yes. We can house approximately 150 exhibits in our hall, 700 people for a banquet function in our ballroom, and we have a complement of 8 meeting rooms that folks can use for seminars.
Where would that put us in terms of other facilities that we'll be competing with?
We are right in the mix. There are several cities that we compete with in state as well as surrounding states, and the feedback that we've gotten from meeting planners is that our space is just exactly where we need to be.
For what you're selling?
Yes,
yeah.
And we also have outdoor space on the Riverwalk, which we can also use for receptions and things like that.
That's nice, isn't it? That's very...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a feature that other buildings don't have.
Sure. Were you aware of all the controversy that had surrounded the project before you came, the lawsuits, the obstructions, the delays and such?
Yes, I was aware, and many folks have mentioned this to me since I've been here.
Did that give you pause to think of, do you want to come here?
No, because every city with a project of this magnitude has a certain amount of, I guess, skepticism and cautiousness and so forth.
So it wasn't unusual for people for opposition and to get something like this accomplished?
Not at all. I think it's pretty typical, and to a certain extent, it's perhaps a healthy evaluation of, are we doing the right thing? I think folks like, citizens should voice their opinions and so forth, but we're at a point where this building is opening and so forth, and so I'm more focused on the positive future of the building.
Now, you've been involved in some major trade show facilities, Chicago's McCormick Center for one, and I read somewhere it's the largest space of its kind in the Western Hemisphere. That's pretty big. That's a pretty big title. And most recently, the Knoxville Convention Center. Have they been profitable operations?
Generally, convention centers, the 5 that I've been involved with, are not considered, let's say, in the black. That's a common term that accountants or business
you're in the red or
people
you're in the black, right?
Right. They generally are a deficit-run facility. SMG's efforts are to minimize the operational expense of the property and hopefully reach that point, not to burden the hotel tax, which funds the center. We try and minimize the burden, if you will, for the city.
Yeah, I've been talking about the hotel tax or the room occupancy taxes, how it's referred to, which is the funding mechanism for developing the property and for operating the convention center. How unique is that? Have you ever come across that before?
That's fairly common.
Oh, it is?
Oh, yeah. That's fairly common that there are tax-based funding sources in a lot of metros that will build a building of this type.
So do you consider that a cushion to help fund operations?
Well, it is, absolutely. It's not just a cushion. It is a main funding source. SMG will, as well in concert with the Convention Bureau, we identify the sources from outside the community to bring more hotel tax to the area so we can help to minimize the tax that is
now when you
paid
book
towards conventions.
a group
Yes.
to come here. Is the hotel occupancy, their hotel occupancy, figured into that, to what you're charging? Or do they then go or is it depend on what the deal is?
Actually, I believe the Convention Bureau takes that into account. Every city, like our Convention Bureau, very hardworking bureau, and they look at different incentives to offer groups to help attract them and be competitive with other cities. Some offer different mixes of different options, if you will, to different conventions groups.
So one from column A, one from column B, depending on what the
and it's usually the more room nights, perhaps the better incentive that's offered.
Now, the funding for the convention center comes from room occupancy tax. So when you bring groups in, there's a room occupancy. Does that help feed the convention center's funding
yes,
source?
In an indirect way.
Okay.
It comes through the county, and it is apportioned to each city in this region, and the city then decides how they would apportion that money to either the Convention Bureau or to us.
Now, there was like a $62 million figure put on developing the convention center. How involved are you in that process?
Well, that's actually handled by the city. The city oversees.
So you're hands off on keeping that on track? Or?
I'm absolutely hands off on that. The city oversees the construction and works with the designers and the folks involved with completing the facility, the parking deck, and then of course they'll be involved with the future hotel product. We're
going to take another break. We'll come back more with our guest this morning, the general manager of the Wilmington Convention Center, Susan Eaton. When we come back, operational budget. We'll talk about it. Stay with us.